O Lord God, let all your enemies be scattered. As for your people, let them be in blessing thousandfold and 10,000 Heavenly Father, as you promised us, when two or three are gathered in my name, you are here in our midst. We invite you, Lord, to be the head and master of this gathering, that your Holy Spirit would guide us in our conversations, to grant us comfort, peace, and joy, Lord. We are more than conquerors in your name, and we know that you have made us victorious, Lord, not defeated. We know how precious you are, Lord, in our lives. I pray, Lord, that we may lay all of our burdens under your feet, Lord, and we don't exit this place the same way that we entered it, having all of our burdens cast before you, Lord, knowing that you have carried our sins and given us, Lord, freedom and salvation instead of it. Bless each and every person's heart and requests that they came with, Lord. Any challenges that we may be facing, Lord, we surrender it into your holy and blessed hands to work things out, Lord, according to your precious will. If there's any hurt or any trauma, Lord, or any tragedy that ever happened, Lord, I pray for each person who has faced it, and that you may give healing, Lord, right here and right in this moment, Lord. Bless us as we begin this evening in your name. This we pray in holy and precious name, intercession of Saint Mary, Saint Maurice, and Verena, all the choir of the saints, the prayers of my Father, Abuna Thomas, everyone in presence. Hear us as we pray with all thanksgiving. Our Father, who art in heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not in temptations, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. May be seated.
Okay, so week 5 of 6, very exciting, we're almost there. I just left that up before we started, just in case anybody wanted to take down that information, then you can text questions in throughout the presentation. So this is always live, and then once I'm done, we'll get back to it. But again, if there's something that I'm saying that's very heretical or blasphemous, please just put your hand up, we'll fight it out. I also have to apologize. It's supposed to be me and my husband, but finding babysitters is very hard. We couldn't find one. If anybody's looking for a babysitting gig, call me. We're always taking people. You just have to watch a monitor and you can watch TV. It's good. So it's just me for today, but he's, tuning in virtually. Interesting. All right. So today, breakups and baggage. So this one is kind of, I don't want to say doom and gloom, but it's not as, happy-go-lucky as the other ones. If you've attended this series and you're in a relationship and by week 5 you're like, you know what, I need to get out of whatever relationship I'm in, then this is the talk for you. So today we're going to talk about breakups and baggage. So your life experiences will always shape your perspective, okay? No matter what you do, no matter what's happened to you, no matter, who you're with, how many people you've with, etc. If you've been in a relationship previously, what worked and what didn't is going to shape your perspective. If you've never been in a relationship, you likely have some ideals about what a relationship is supposed to look like, and that's going to shape your expectations. And the same situation can be perceived differently by two people that are in that situation. So, for example, I think my husband and I were married less than a year at this point. It was the first Valentine's Day that we were married. And by that point, we had been dating for however long and engaged for however long. So he felt like he knew me, right? And he could plan a fantastic date. And every single one that he did, he nailed it. And he was, uber confident. So the first Valentine's Day that we're married, he plans, he comes up with this date idea, and he's walking in uber confident, he nailed it. This is the best Valentine's Day we've ever had to date. And I walked out of that date what was he thinking? It was easily the worst Valentine's Day we've ever had. But same people in the same situation walked away with two completely different perspectives, right? And your perceptions are different based on who you are and what kind of baggage you carry. So it's important to remember as we go through this talk that your past experiences do not define who you are, okay? They can affect your perceptions and your expectations, but you are not bound by your past experiences, and you don't have to be. So, before we get started, I just want everyone to acknowledge this foundational principle, okay? Your ended relationships are not a failure, okay? They are not a failure. You are not damaged goods. You are not worse off. Your life is not over because you were in a relationship and now you're not. You're not tainted. You don't have a reputation, blah, blah, all these things that they drill into us culturally. None of that is true, okay? However long your relationship was, whoever it was with, however far it got, it doesn't matter. You are not damaged goods because you were in a relationship and it ended. Okay? It is not a failure. Your ended relationship likely accomplished more than you give yourself credit for. It probably taught you a lot of things. You probably averted, getting out of a serious commitment. Congratulations to you. That would have been a lot uglier than whatever your breakup looked like. You probably got a lot of insight into yourself and your needs and your preferences and things that now you've learned about yourself. So your ended relationship accomplished much. Okay? You are not a failure. Your situation is not dire because you were previously in a relationship and now you're not. I need everybody to accept this here before we can continue because your ended relationship is not a failure. Remember from session 1 when we talked about dating and we defined it. Dating is a stage of romantic relationships in humans whereby two people meet socially with the aim of assessing each other's suitability as a prospective partner. You walk into the dating game at a 50-50 that this is even going to work out, okay? So those are not fantastic odds. So your ending of a relationship is still a success because you averted something that was wrong. You got out of something that was wrong, okay? This is why I love this service. 100% success rate. People get together, success. People break up, success. Okay? Ending a relationship is not a failure. So, in today's session, we're going to talk about a few things. So, our goals, okay, are talking about how to bounce back from a relationship that has ended, how to cope, how to move forward, and what are the signs of readiness that you're, ready to jump back into something different. And then we're going to talk about baggage, minimizing the effect of baggage from previous situations, and turning your baggage into positive growth for the future. All right. So, bouncing back from a breakup. It isn't always easy to bounce back from a breakup. I said always because sometimes it is, okay? Sometimes you're just like, oh, thank God that's over, and you feel relief, okay? If that's how you felt, good for you. You probably should have got out of that relationship a little faster, okay? But good for you. But, it isn't always that easy. Sometimes it's one of the most difficult things that you'll ever go through. And there's a lot of things about a breakup that make it very difficult. The absence of the actual person, if the person's a nice person and not a jerk, you probably miss that person. The loss of hope is a big one because you had hope in this person. You had hope to build a life with this person. You had, plans for the future. You had, envisioned what your life was going to look like together, and it was all positive, I imagine. The wasted investment of time in the other person, I can't tell you how often I hear this one, that people are hesitant to break up when they think that it might be wrong because they've already put so much time into the person, or they've already put so much of an investment in the person, and they feel like the clock's ticking. That one, that expression, it cuts me to the heart. That one cuts me to the heart because yeah, you're right. You're never going to get that time back, but the longer it takes for you to realize that investment of time is not a big deal, the more time you're investing. So you're just wasting more and more time. Do you know what I mean? But this one I hear the most commonly, which is wasting time on that person. And then of course, unresolved feelings. And breakups have the potential to become all-consuming because it occupied so much of your time while you were in the relationship. Why would it be any different when you're out? And your habit is to allow this person to occupy so much of your mind. So it's a difficult thing to break that habit. But dwelling on a relationship after a breakup is very destructive, right? You overanalyze everything that you guys did. What did you do wrong? What did the other person do wrong? Then you start to second guess what you know to be true, right? How many times have you had a friend or you yourself, they're coming out of a breakup, they're, dwelling and they're not coping very well and they're sitting there, they're rehashing everything, they're going through everything, and then they second guess whether or not the breakup was correct or not. Like, I mean, if he cheated on you, like, he's gonna do it again. Like, it's still wrong. But because you're sitting there and you're dwelling and you're trying to, remember things positively, etc., it makes you second guess what you know to be true. It makes you second guess the decision that you've already made because you're dwelling, right? It can cause, festering of emotional responses. It can prevent you from coping and moving forward. It can make you do stupid things. I personally have been on the receiving end of a few drunk texts and a few, drunk phone calls. Not very classy, friends, okay? Can definitely make you do stupid things, and it can prevent you from being grounded in reality. So, how do you do? So we're gonna use an example, okay? Whenever I'm not sure about something, I always go and I try to take the example of somebody who did it and who did it well, okay? So for those of you who know me, I have a few favorite characters in the Bible, okay? My number one, Elijah, always, okay? Love Elijah, love his sass, love his sarcasm. If you're looking for somebody who's full of sass, go and read Elijah. He's fantastic, okay? Peter, always love St. Peter. And then King David, because he's very high highs and very low lows. Now, I'm not saying that I am dramatic, but I am saying that I can resonate with his high highs and his low lows, okay? Love David, always, okay, led by his emotions. He's just up and down. He's like an emotional roller coaster, okay? I am going to disclaimer, though, that this is not a relationship-specific example. This is general life advice on how to cope with difficulty, okay? General life advice can be extrapolated to relationships and breakups, but I think more useful because it can be applied to many situations, not just breakups. So, let's start with the context. Now, if anybody has a Bible app or whatever on their phone, I very much encourage you to pull the passage up because this is gold, this passage. I love this one. It's probably my favorite David story ever. If you're sitting next to somebody and you're interested in them and he doesn't have a Bible app on his phone, just saying. No, I'm kidding. Maybe he has a physical Bible in his car. You don't know. I'm just kidding, okay? So, 2 Samuel 12. So the context here, okay, is that David has already killed Uriah and married his wife, okay? And he's had a son by the wife, Bathsheba. So he's inappropriately, slid into this woman's life, okay? Killed her husband, blah, blah, blah. Married her, and bam, she's knocked up, okay? Everybody knows what he did. Everybody knows it's wrong, okay? But David, the king, whatever, he has no insight into what he's doing. He can't be wrong, blah, 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 okay? So then God sends the prophet Nathan to inform David that God has seen what he's done, and God is not happy, okay? When Nathan goes to David, he kind of goes through this little, I don't want to say song and dance, but he has to go through a third person kind of example to explain to David that what he did is wrong. But when he does, David gets it, okay? And David is repentant. He's not rebellious. He's not pushing back. He is repentant, absolutely, okay? And God shows mercy to David in that David won't die, okay? But for every sin, right, there's a heavenly consequence and an earthly consequence. And so David has to suffer the earthly consequence. That's the way the world works, guys. That's how it is. And so his earthly consequence is that his son by Bathsheba has to die. Okay? How does David cope? Now, frame this in the context of a breakup, okay? So, step number 1, acknowledge your faults. So Nathan is coming to David, who is the king, okay, who is chosen by God. David at this point is infallible. Everybody loves David. He's at the top of his game, okay? And so even Nathan stepping to David like that is very bold. But Nathan's been sent by God, right? There's nothing, that makes you bolder than being sent by God. And when Nathan comes to David, David acknowledges that he was wrong. I have sinned against the Lord. And he calls it out. He calls himself out right there. That is the first step, is acknowledge your faults. No breakup is ever entirely one person's fault. Maybe there's somebody who was very wrong, and somebody who was a really big jerk, and someone who was whatever, unfaithful, whatever. And that's clearly their fault. But there is no way that in a situation, even in a conflict, that one person is 100% entirely blameless. That there's nothing that they could have done better. Or there's nothing that they could have delivered better, or been smarter about, or reacted to less, or whatever. There is always something in every situation that you could do better next time, always. And so acknowledging where you went wrong will give you more than it will give anybody else. And when we tell you to acknowledge what you did wrong, it's not about anybody else. Nobody cares if you acknowledge it to the other person. I don't care. All I want you to do is acknowledge it to yourself. Because what you gain from being able to do that is more than anybody can give you. You get closure, you learn from your mistakes, you stop resenting the other person and laying blame on the other person, which is what causes you to fixate and to stay in that rut. And then now you have insight into what areas you struggle with and what you need to improve. So when I started dating Rami, okay, I have this funny little problem. Well, I don't have it so much anymore, I don't think. Maybe, I'm not sure, okay? But before I started dating Rami, I have this funny little problem, okay? Where, like, I'm a very impulsive person, right? So that's why me and David, like, I resonate with King David, okay? And I go in and I'm all in. And like, when I get fixated on a fad, like, I'm all in. Or like, I buy every color of the same thing. Or like, I'm in, okay? But I burn out fast. And once I burn out, I'm done. Like, chapter is slammed shut, never to be looked at again, right? So I had been in like relationships or whatever situations where like I'm all in, and then all of a sudden somebody says something and I flip a switch and I'm out. Like, don't even like respond to the person's text message to tell them I'm out. I'm just out. Like, it's hot and then just ice cold, right? And sometimes it's like, I didn't even understand it myself. Sometimes it's just like out of the blue. Everything's going good and then bam, a wall hits and I'm out. Bye. And it's like guys, friendships, everything. Just once something flips a switch, I'm out. Okay? It was very odd. Okay? And my husband's like, so I gave him a heads up. Okay? Like, look, like, I don't really want to date you. Like, I don't really know. Like, if I get into it, great. But like, sometimes I just flip a switch and I'm out. So like, the more you pester me, the more I slam the door shut even more. Like, I'm a little like claustrophobic. I don't like people like on me. So I'm out if that happens. And he was just kind of like, okay, like, how will I know? Like, and he's like tiptoeing around it. But having that conversation and having that insight and knowing that I have inappropriately done this to people before and that I have incorrectly delivered my lack of enthusiasm for somebody in the past gave me the foresight to give my current husband, who was my husband at the time, a heads up. And to let him know, like, look, I have a predisposition to do this incorrectly, okay? And it helped him kind of tiptoe around it and navigate around it and be much more sensitive to, like, warning signs. But more than that, it helped me navigate it. Like, it helped me acknowledge what it is and be ready for it and be prepared for it and try to deal with it more appropriately. Because in the past, I screwed up, okay? Like, I screwed up. I should have communicated better. I should have, talked my way through it. Like, I don't know. But I screwed up in the past. And being able to have insight into those screw-ups and acknowledging where I went wrong and what I could have done better helped me navigate the next situation significantly better. So when we tell you to acknowledge your faults, it's got nothing to do with the other person or laying blame. It's 100% completely about you and what you will gain from being able to acknowledge that. All right, so that was step 1. He said, I have sinned against the Lord. Step 2, do everything that you can. So Nathan tells David, you screwed up, friend, okay? This is going to be your earthly consequence. David acknowledges, says, I have sinned against the Lord. And then David therefore pleaded with God for the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night on the ground, okay? David doesn't know if God is going to change his mind or not. He has no idea. And David doesn't know what the outcome of this is going to be. But he's sure as hell going to try. He's going to do everything that he can. He's going to try and show God in as clear of a fashion as possible that he's sorry and that he's repentant. And he's going to do everything in his power to rectify his wrong. Okay? A breakup is the same. I don't know if the relationship that is in your mind right now as I'm talking is right or wrong. I don't know. I have no idea, okay? But if it's right, and if it's reconcilable, okay, and if it's repairable, and you didn't do everything that you can, That's on you. You didn't communicate clearly. You didn't humble yourself and apologize for the ways that you screwed up. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't communicate to the other person that, it seemed like this was the problem, but actually this is what's going on with me. That's on you. And the worst thing is to have regrets about what you didn't do or what you could have done. So apologize, commit to change, be clear, do everything that you can. And at the end of the day, if the relationship is irreconcilable, at least take comfort in knowing that you did everything that you can. That you didn't just walk away from something that could have been fixed because you were, too proud, lazy, passive, whatever. Be David. Do everything that you can. He went in there, pleaded, fasted, lay all night on the ground. His whole life was now consumed by pleading with God for the sake of his son. Do everything that you can. So the elders of the house arose and went to him to raise him up from the ground, but he would not, nor did he eat food with them. Stay focused until you can honestly say that you did everything you can with no regrets. That there was nothing left in your capacity to do to fix whatever it is you screwed up. Because only at that point can you walk away from a situation and say, I did everything I could. Here, him not wanting to eat and not raising up from the ground and whatever, he's not being dramatic, okay? Look, David is dramatic, okay? I'm dramatic, okay? Fine, I'll say it. I'm dramatic, David is dramatic, okay? But this is not him being dramatic. This is him trying to show God with everything he has that he's sorry, that he acknowledges that he screwed up and that he's trying to fix it. This is David's way of showing God that he's doing everything that he can. He's not being dramatic here, okay? This is David committing to a purpose. So, step 1 was acknowledge your faults. Step 2 was do everything that you can, okay? Step 3. Then on the 7th day, it came to pass that the child died. And the servants of David were afraid to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, indeed, while the child was alive, we spoke to him and he would not heed our voice. How can we tell him that the child is dead? He may do some harm. Do some harm. You know what he means, right? Do some harm. No? When David saw that his servants were whispering, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore, David said to his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he is dead. Call the situation what it is, okay? The worst is when you're talking to somebody, or I'm talking to somebody, friend, whatever, somebody who's telling me about their situation, and I ask them, oh, how's it going? And they say, we're praying about it. He's praying about the next girl. You're praying he comes back to you. You're not praying about it, okay? The it that you're praying about is very different, okay? If you broke up, say, we broke up, okay? Because you telling somebody else we're praying about it is also you convincing yourself that we're praying about it. There's no we anymore if you broke up. There's no we, okay? Call the situation for what it is. Accept it. And like I said in the first step, okay, there is more value in you calling it by name for yourself than it is for anybody else. Nobody cares what my opinion is of your situation. Who cares if I know you broke up or didn't break up? Who cares about my opinion? The value is you. The value is you and you being able to accept whatever the situation is. And you being able to call it by name and acknowledge what's happening, because only from that point can you move forward. If you've deluded yourself into thinking that this is only temporary and this is transient and blah, 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 and then the guy gets engaged tomorrow, you're a wreck. And it's your own fault. Because you didn't acknowledge and you didn't accept what the situation actually was, right? So call the situation out for what it is. Don't use ambiguous terminology like we're on a break, we're praying about it. Don't use we if you broke up. There's no we, okay? Accept the situation for what it is. Move forward, okay? I'm going to get some eye rolls with this one, okay? So, the son has died, okay? It's very tragic. The son has died. So David arose from the ground, washed and anointed himself and changed his clothes. And he went into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Okay? Then he went to his own house, and when he requested, they set food before him and he ate. Okay? So the son dies. David picks himself up, dusts himself off, and goes and does all the things that they've been begging him to do for the past however long he's been fasting and weeping and praying. Okay? Then his servant said to him, "What is this that you have done? You fasted and wept for the child while he was alive, but when the child died, you arose and ate food." Okay? So we've been begging you for however many days to get up, eat something, do something, change scenery, whatever, okay? And you've refused. And now he's dead, okay? And when you should be mourning and putting ashes in your hair and weeping and gnashing of teeth and whatever, you're asking for a burger. It doesn't make any sense. And David says to them, "While the child was alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, 'Who can tell whether the Lord will be gracious to me that the child may live?' But now he is dead. Why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me." When there was still something to be done, David did everything he could. While there was still hope, while there was still possibility, while there was still a chance of change, David committed and he focused and he did everything that he could, okay? But right at the point at which things are not repairable, or things are not reconcilable, or things are not going to change, David picked himself up and he moved on, okay? When there is nothing that can be done, dwelling will not change your situation, okay? It's only going to hurt you in the long run. You have to be able to accept what happened, okay? Pick yourself up and move on. Now, this is the hardest part of this whole talk, okay? It's very easy for me, been married for 9 years, actually my anniversary is tomorrow, married for 9 years tomorrow, okay? Very easy for me to stand up here and say, well, pull your socks up, pick yourself up and move on, yalla bina, stop dwelling, don't be a baby, whatever. It's very easy for me to say that, okay? But this is a hard thing to do. Like the whole first 2 or 3 slides or whatever was about why breakups are so hard, okay? So nobody is minimizing the difficulty of the ask. The ask is difficult, okay? So how do we do it? Take this with a grain of salt, okay? This is Sarah's 3-day rule. Sarah, okay? Not based in anything of value, okay? Sarah's opinion, because I have the mic right now. You can take the mic and give us your advice after, okay? Here's my 3-day rule. Everybody needs time to mourn or grieve or mope or do whatever, okay? So take your 3 days, okay? Take your 3 days, call in sick from work if that's what you need to do, eat your ice cream, watch your rom-coms, order your sushi, whatever. Whatever it is you need to do to mope. Lock yourself in a cave, stay in bed, don't take a shower, whatever, okay? Whatever your, mourning is, or whatever your coping is, okay? Elijah, if anybody knows the story of Elijah, when he ran away from Jezebel, he's crying, ran into a cave, my life is so hard, God has abandoned me, and he's moping, okay? And even there, God was compassionate with him. And God said, okay, Elijah, have your moment, okay? Be a baby, it's okay. You get to have your moment, no problem. And God babied him, okay? God, he tub and whatever, it's okay, Elijah. So everybody gets their period of tub, no problem, okay? You had a breakup, it's hard, it's sad, nobody's minimizing how hard it is. Take your whatever, okay? 3 days of eating yourself into oblivion or whatever, punk rock music, whatever it is you need to do to cope, okay? Whatever. Take your 3 days, and nobody's going to judge you for those 3 days. You are entitled to those 3 days, okay? But on day 4, you better get yourself up, get into the shower, okay? Go to work, put on some makeup, preferably not if you're a boy, okay? Whatever is your normal routine, you better get yourself back into your normal routine. No excuses. Because by day 4, okay, nobody is saying that you have to be over this person. That is unrealistic and unreasonable, okay? But you better start trying to get over this person. And you are not going to start trying if you're still rotting in bed. okay? Eating 65 billion calories a day of ice cream. That is not going to work for you. And that is not going to work for your life, and that is not good for you. By day 4, you're dwelling, okay? Day 1, 2, and 3, you're coping. You're mourning and you're grieving, okay? But there's an end date to when people make excuses. And my end date, okay, is day 4. You get yourself up and you start trying to regain normalcy. And again, that's not to say that on day 4, you will be normal and you will be over that person and you're going to wake up and magically everything's going to be all better. But on day 4, you're going to get up and you're going to make the decision to start trying to get over this person. You're going to make the decision to start trying to regain normalcy. You're going to make the decision to start trying to move forward. You're going to be David, okay? You're going to get up, you're going to worship, you're going to go and you're going to request some food and you're going to eat it, okay? You're going to take initial steps into going back into your normal routine, finding a new routine without this person. Day 4, you're going to get up and you're going to start trying. And that's how you move forward. You start trying. And you're not going to get it by day 5 or day 6 or day 7, okay? But you're going to start trying. That's the first step. Usually at this point, I can see people like whipping out their phones and texting angrily the line about like, how can you be so insensitive and blah, blah. So text away, okay? I'm ready for the fights at the end of the talk. But I'm not sorry for my 3-day rule, okay? All right. So general tips about a breakup, okay? You can't be friends. I'm very sorry, but I'm not actually sorry, okay? I get asked this question every single time, whether I do this talk or if it's a completely different topic, I get asked this question. No, you cannot be friends. I will not waffle. I will not give you a gray answer. I will not hedge. No, you cannot be friends. Fight me, okay? Don't avoid social situations. The more you're exposed, the more likely you are to return to normalcy, okay? So don't hide in a cave for fear that you're gonna like walk and this person that you broke up with is gonna be across the street somewhere, God forbid, okay? You can't live in a cave. You have to get out, you have to be normal, and like you're striving for indifference, okay? So each time you see that person, the hope is that you're more indifferent to that person than you were the last time you saw them. So don't avoid social situations, okay? Awkwardness can always be overcome. Trust that God knows what you need better than you know what you need, and don't lose hope, okay? So we went through this whole story of David, okay, and how his son was taken from him because of something that he did, okay? That's like 1 Samuel chapter 12, verses 1 to 20, okay? Verse 24, Solomon was born, okay? Verse 24, he had another son, and the son was Solomon, like legendary, okay? So don't lose hope, okay? Things turn around. And when you give, when you cast your cares on him, things turn around, okay? So don't lose hope. He has a bird's eye view. You don't, okay? So don't forget that he has a bird's eye view of what's happening, right? Like David, in his grief, saw only the death of his son. He couldn't see Solomon coming later, okay? So don't lose hope. All right. So that is breakups. How am I doing for time? Not amazing. So that is breakups. So now let's talk about baggage, okay? And again, like if you need a minute to angrily text in questions that we're going to address later for breakups, please take your minute. I can do a pause. Phones, yeah, I can do a pause. But we're going to move into baggage, okay? So history is what happened to you, but baggage is how you feel about what happened to you, okay? The same way we had to accept a fundamental principle at the beginning of this, that having an ended relationship does not ruin you, okay? You're not tainted, you're not damaged goods, you're not whatever, all the silliness that people try to fill your head with, okay? Similarly, everyone carries baggage, okay? I don't care who you are, where you're from, what your situation is. If you think that you're too good or too emotionally mature or too blah, blah, whatever, everybody has baggage. Maybe you've never been in a relationship before and your baggage is from friendships. Maybe you've never been in a relationship before and your baggage is from your family. You screwed up family dynamic. I don't know. Maybe you've been in too many relationships and your baggage is from the sheer volume of people that you've dated. I don't know, okay? But everybody carries baggage, okay? And the goal here is to make sure that whatever baggage you carry, wherever it's from, that it doesn't negatively affect your relationships in the future or present, okay? And again, we're talking about relationships between a guy and a girl because this is relationship goals, but this is very relatable to friendships and whatever, parenting, okay? My baggage doesn't color my parenting of my kids, my baggage with my parents. Like, this is life advice here, okay? It's not only relatable to relationships. So, for example, okay, I had a breakup that was very ugly one time, okay? Like I said, we're okay to acknowledge that we've previously dated, right? Like, we're past that whole, like, cultural thing. Like, it's not like, yeah, like, she's talking about another guy and she's married. Like, we're good, right? Everybody's okay with that? We're all mature? Excellent. So, I previously dated somebody who, like, remember I told you to do this thing where, like, I just flip a switch and I'm out the door? So, one of the reasons I flipped the switch and I was out the door was because he made a comment about, like, paying. Like, we were in a fight or something. I can't even remember what the actual comment was. And he made a comment about, like, well, you know, you've cost me this much, or something to do with, like, money and credit cards. I was like, flip the switch, out, cut the credit card up, like, just, like, out, like, in a flash, okay? And that comment, like, set me off, okay? And poor Rami, Haram, for those of you who know Rami, just a gentle giant, like, completely, like, unassuming, has no anything, just ask this girl out, kida, he doesn't know anything, okay? Comes to try and pay the first time. Yeah, that way! Like, this poor guy was not ready for the unleashing of the beast when he dared to try and pay for me, Yalawi. And this has nothing to do with him. It's not his fault. I'm still mad about that other joker, okay, who has no tact whatsoever, okay? And this poor guy is trying to do a good thing. This poor guy is trying to be a leader and trying to take initiative and whatever, and the beast gets unleashed, okay? The goal here is to minimize the unleashing of your beast, okay, on these poor victims that have no idea where this is coming from or why you're being crazy, okay? That's the goal here, okay? And poor Rami, like, thankfully Rami's who he is. If for those of you who know Rami, Rami's, like, perfect. Thankfully, like, he's, like, you know, trying to talk through it and he's not deterred by the crazy, okay? But this was completely, like, not his fault. And the poor guy took it in stride. Like, you know, he let me have my, like, you know, moments, and I refused to let him pay for, like, 5 months or whatever, just being, like, the crazy person that I am. But not everybody is going to be Rami. Like, believe me, I wish a Rami on all of you, okay? I very much do. But not everybody's going to be a Rami, right? Not everybody's going to be so understanding about your crazy. So the goal here is to try and minimize where you can the unleashing of that unnecessarily and inappropriately, okay? All right, so I'm a big fan of steps, okay? I'm a very, like I like outcomes and deliverables, okay, and quantifiables, okay? So how do we deal with baggage? So number one, we talked about this a little bit already, acknowledge that you have baggage, okay? Because it's important to have foresight about sensitive issues for yourself because it can help you navigate them in the future and give the other person insight into how to navigate with you, okay, if you're in another relationship. So, like, acknowledge that you have baggage. Sometimes it's related to, you know, a previous relationship that didn't work, whatever, your relationship with your parents, whatever. It does require an element of self-reflection and insight, okay, and being able to, like, dig a little bit deep. And I'm just gonna, you know, disclaimer, like, I'm not very, like, good at the whole, like, feelingsy business, and, like psychology is not my thing, okay? But if it's your thing, excellent. You're probably much more qualified to give this talk than I am. But being able to acknowledge your baggage requires an element of that, okay? So be able to do that, okay? And, like, you know, verbalize it and, like, dig deep and, like, you know, try and relate it back to the experiences that might have caused it. And like I said, much more valuable for you than for the other person, okay? Okay, so number two, bring him your baggage, okay? So go to the psychologist, go to the psychiatrist, go to all that stuff, excellent, okay? Do whatever it is you feel that you need to do, okay? Ultimately, there's one healer. Ultimately, there's one fixer, okay? There's one healer, and he may have, you know, tools that he can send your way, okay? But ultimately, There is one person who fixes everything. And if you bring him every other problem under the sun, this shouldn't be any different, okay? So bring that before him. Pray about it. I know it's a little bit of like a Sunday school answer and whatever, but it's the truth. Resolve your grief, okay? Your emotions must be reconciled before you are ready to try again, okay? If you walk into a room, okay, and your ex is there, and you're so flustered that you can't, like, speak words, you're probably not ready to try again, okay? Like, if you're, like, I'm old, like, creeping his Facebook all the time, and relationship status, and, like, zooming in, and is there a girl in the background, and, like, you're, like, stalking him on Facebook silently and virtually, or whatever, on Instagram, whatever's cool right now, you're probably not ready to try again, okay? If, like, you are out and you're watching a movie with friends and some scene comes on and it's about a breakup or a guy and a girl, and all of a sudden you're in tears and you can't, like, speak through your emotions, you're probably not ready, okay, to try again. You need to be, like, a level of stable before you can try again. Because, like I said, not everybody's a Rami, okay? And some people are a little turned off by the crazy. Not unreasonable, though, right? Not unreasonable. So make sure that you resolve your grief before you jump back into something else. Are you still consumed? Are you still fixated? Okay? Is your, like, measure of success relative to what your ex is doing? Not ready. Okay? You need to get back into a stable position before you can jump back into another relationship. Relationships are hard. Gauge your feelings towards your ex. Okay? Do you have a lot of anger? Do you have a lot of resentment? Okay? My opinion, okay, again, opinion according to Sarah, is what you're striving for is indifference, okay? For those of you who've been in a relationship before, you don't have to put your hand up, don't worry, okay? Everybody knows the situation where, like, you're fresh out of a breakup or whatever, you walk into a room, social event, church thing, whatever, liturgy, and the person is there. The person you broke up with is there. And you may not be looking at that person, but you are hyper aware of that person's position in the room. At any given time, you know exactly where that person is in that room. And you're trying to do this if the person's back there, and this if the person's back there, but you know where he or she is. You know, okay? And you are hyper aware. You're sucking in your stomach to make sure you look fabulous. And, like, you are just hyper aware of that person's presence, okay? That is not indifference. That's not indifference, okay? Being hyper aware of every update on their social media, that's not indifference, okay? What you're striving for is indifference. Not like, I hope he rots in hell. That's not indifference, okay? Or like, oh, status update, I just got fired, and you're like, yes! That's not indifference. Not indifference, okay? You're striving for indifference. That this person is the same as another person out there. The guy got fired, haram. I will pray for him. The guy got engaged, oh, wonderful, mabruk. Indifference, okay? You do not revel in his failures, okay? You do not get joy out of his failures, okay? That's not what you're going for. And that indifference might take some time, okay? It's going to take some time. And like it's a little bit of a spectrum, okay? It's a little bit of spectrum. So you might be like at the beginnings of that spectrum when you're trying again, and that's okay? But you cannot be consumed by this person. That is not a sign that you are ready to jump into another relationship. All right. Restabilize your self-esteem, okay? This one is a tough one. I already disclosed that I'm not, like, very good about that psychological inner stuff, okay? I'm very bad at talking about feelings, and that was a huge learning curve for me when I got married to my husband, okay? Because he's very good at this kind of feelings business, okay? This is not me, okay? But breakups can often, so, like, bear with me as I struggle to navigate through this feelingsy stuff, okay? Breakups can often, like, your self-esteem can take a hit from a breakup, okay? Because, like, from a girl's perspective, what you're internalizing is that I wasn't blank enough, okay? I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't, whatever, enough, okay? And so you just weren't enough. And that hits your self-esteem pretty hard, right? And whatever it is, whatever you're filling the blank in with, okay, it's something that you're going to internalize. And it's something that's now going to like affect the way you carry yourself, right? And that is very destructive. That is very destructive. It also it rejects the initial premise of dating, right? The initial premise of dating is you see this person and it may or may not work, 50-50. And you're dating to see if it will work or if it won't, equally likely, okay? But then you go through a breakup and all of a sudden that logic goes out the window because I wasn't blank enough, okay? And it messes with your self-esteem, okay? But in order for you to be ready to jump into something else, you have to be able to restabilize that self-esteem. You have to be able to acknowledge and believe that this breakup did not take away from your value as a man or a woman, okay? That this breakup did not make you any less of a person than before the breakup, okay? That you are loved, you are valued, okay? You are awesome, you are worthy, okay? You have to not just acknowledge these things, but you have to believe these things, okay? That you are not tainted and that you don't need to settle now that you've been in a previous relationship, okay? Or a broken engagement or whatever, okay? You don't need to compromise on what your deal breakers are because you'll be lucky to get somebody else now that you've come out of this whatever. You can't just say these things. You have to believe these things. And I'm going to give you a superficial example why this is important, okay? So these people that have have taken this hit to their self-esteem, okay? Their next relationship, if they haven't been able to restabilize their self-esteem, is hard on the person that they get into a relationship with. Because now all of a sudden, they are constantly seeking affirmation, or they're constantly seeking validation, or they're constantly fishing for affirmation, right? And nobody wants to be with somebody who constantly needs to hear that they're good, and yes, you're enough, and yeah, nonstop, right? Everybody has a love language, okay? But there's a love language, and then there's the next level where you're constantly needing to affirm this person or validate this person. That's something that's hard to be in a relationship with. And you are much more predisposed to falling into that trap if you don't do this before you get into your next relationship. Because it cannot be on that person to build your self-esteem. That's on you. You need to show up to whatever your next relationship is going to be as whole as you can be, right? Knowing who you are and what you stand for and what your values are. And if that's still in flux because somebody else messed with your head, you might need a little bit more time just you to be, in a position of stability and not relying on somebody else to give you validation before you get into a relationship. All right. So, confront your own shame and guilt. Like we said, okay, nobody is blameless. So understand what you did wrong, why, and forgive yourself, okay? I hear this a lot from the people that have really they feel like a breakup was entirely their fault. So, the people that were unfaithful for whatever reason or whatever. I know I had a group of guys that I used to talk to that all of them were unable to commit, the stereotype of the guys can't commit, whatever. And they had these 8, 9, 10-year relationships with the girls. And then they finally pulled their socks up and broke up with the girls. Good for them, congratulations. But they carried all of this guilt about doing that. And that oh, it's my fault, and now her life is ruined, and I ruined her life. Habibi, get over yourself. First of all, you didn't ruin her life just because she's not with you. Just relax, okay? But this whole thing about and when we used to talk about it, my response to them was, first of all, you didn't ruin her life. Just relax, Habibi. But second of all, you screwed up in that you let a wrong relationship go on too long, okay? You didn't screw up because you didn't marry her. That would be the biggest screw up, okay? If you marry somebody that you're not into. But your screw up was that you let this relationship go on too long when you should have broken up with her a long time ago. That's your screw up, okay? So did you screw up? Yes. Were you wrong? Yes. Accept it, acknowledge it, don't do it again, and move on, Sitting there and fixating on like, oh, I'm scum of the earth and blah, 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 that's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to help the next person that you're in a relationship with. It's the same thing with your sins in your spiritual life. You don't sit there and go to Abuna every week and talk about the sins that you talked about 6 months ago. Okay? Relax. You need to acknowledge it, learn from it, and then move past it. Okay? Rebuild your support community. Okay? Disappearing after a breakup is very destructive. And it's, unfortunately, a lot of people in our community have the predisposition to do that because, oh, it was public, blah, whatever, all these like social norms and whatever. Lean on your community. Okay? We are created as social beings. Okay? Lean on your community. And like with that said, be wise. Okay? So I'm extroverted. Okay? I'm a big socializer. My husband's the opposite, very introverted. Okay? But we have our each like separately and now together our inner circle. Okay? My husband's inner circle is his twin brother. Excellent. Very social. Okay? Excellent. Whatever works for those two, good for them. Whatever. Okay? My inner circle, not my siblings, but like I have an inner circle. Lean on your inner circle, okay? We are created to be social beings, okay? Like David and Jonathan, your love surpasses that of women. Like you have an inner circle for a reason. He has given you the love of a friend for a reason. Lean on your support community. That's what they're there for. They're not gonna judge you. They don't care if you broke up with somebody or you didn't break up with somebody. Who cares? Make sure you know what you want and why, okay? If this is your 10th breakup with the same kind of guy who fits a mold, it's your own fault, okay? Why are you drawing these types? If this is the same thing that happens to you over and over again, same thing with the guys. Man, I was just talking to somebody last week, this guy. He is drawn to the same type of girl. The mean girls that like, you know, they want these guys that like dress metrosexual with the skinny jeans and like whatever. And like everything is about like how the couple looks and the Instagram and the like whatever. And they take pictures and the, what did he get me for anniversary so I can post it? Like he's drawn to the same, and he's not like that. This guy's like heart of gold, okay? And he's drawn to the same kind of girls. Situation after situation after situation of heartbreak. Habibi, branch out, okay? Stop going after the same type if it never works, ya baba. Like, move past what you think you want, because obviously that is not for you. I always say, Rami is everything I didn't know I wanted, okay? When I met Rami, I didn't date him for an unacceptably long amount of time. I was not very nice to him, okay? Because I thought that he was everything I did not want. Like, occupation? Wrong. I never wanted that occupation. Mississauga? Bye, okay? I was never gonna date somebody from that church, okay? Haram, it's a nice church, a very nice church, okay? But I was not about that, okay? Rami was like everything, like he hit all the exes, okay, of my deal breaker list. Everything, okay? Until somebody, my father confession at the time, forced me to think outside the box, okay? I had a series of failures under my belt, all of which were the same type, okay? Maybe try somebody who doesn't fit that criteria. Maybe try somebody who's not a cookie cutter replica of the previous failures. Just saying. Think outside the box, okay? Figure out what you want, and more specifically, what you don't want. What works, and more specifically, what does not work, because that will guide your decisions in the future. Remind yourself that he has a plan for you, and that his plan is based in his love for you, okay? He loves you 100%, and because of his love for you, he has a plan. And you can't see it because you don't have a bird's eye view, okay? But he has one. Just wait. Be bold. Boys, be bold. Ask her out, okay? Put yourself out there. Go to the meetings that you don't want to go to. Go to the social events that you don't want to go to, okay? Step outside of your comfort zone when you're ready. Not when you're still sobbing at every movie that you see in the theaters, okay? Be bold. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. All right. I will flip to the question board, in case anybody, but unless somebody has anything pressing that they want to say out loud here, just hash it out, fight it out, no? Okay. Oh, connection interrupted. All right, here we go. This is always the most fun of these talks, is this Q&A. All right. If your ex-partner treated you badly in the relationship but wants to come back, how do you know if you should give it another chance? I have so many questions. I don't feel like you're also going to help me answer these questions, just so you know. But I feel like in this question, I don't have enough information. So like, why did the relationship end? Presumably because he or she treated you badly, but wants to come back to it. So what has changed since the breakup and now? How long were you together? What are you over this person? Like I have so many questions. Like I need more. Like come talk to me, or like come talk to Abuna, or text in some more like information. But I would just say, like, on the surface, okay, presumably if a relationship ended and you made a decision to end a relationship, don't second guess yourself, okay? If when you made the decision, you were confident and secure in your decision, don't second guess yourself, okay? The other thing I'm gonna say is that people can change, but they usually don't, okay? Like, not a popular opinion, okay? I don't believe that people are incapable of change, but I believe that, like, the majority, it's a lot more difficult to expect somebody to do a full 180, okay? So take that with a grain of salt. What's the difference between a breakup and an extended fight where people take space to work out a conflict? Okay, I can tell you one of my pet peeves, okay? This is one of my pet peeves. One of my pet peeves is we need to take a break. That's breaking up, friends, okay? We need to take a break. In this break, we're not gonna call each other, we're not gonna message each other, we're not gonna talk to each other, we're not gonna, and the break is indefinite until we both pray about it. Okay, first of all, we don't have to baptize everything, okay? Just because you end the sentence with, we're gonna pray about it, doesn't make it the right decision, okay? If you're not gonna talk to each other, you're not gonna, like, communicate with each other whatsoever, you're breaking up, okay? If you were still in a relationship, you would be talking through this conflict together, okay? There is no, like, learning to be had by yourself independently about a relationship and a mutual conflict, okay? A mutual conflict requires mutual discussion. If you need a break, you're breaking up, friends, okay? So just call a spade, okay? So that's the one thing, I need a break, okay? Now, if it's a fight where people take space to work out a conflict, the difference is, what is the point at which we're going to regroup and talk about it? So in our conflict resolution discussion, where Sandra and Fedi were here, okay, you don't have to talk about every fight right at the point at which you had the fight. That's not how it works for everybody. And Miriam and Rami talked about, like, the hedgehog and whatever, rhino, not hippo, okay? You don't have to talk about everything right away, okay? But if you're the hedgehog and you need to, like, retreat into your shell for a little bit to process, that's fine. But we said that the processing has a deadline, okay? So you tell your partner or whatever, I can't talk about this right now, but let's talk at 5 o'clock. Let's talk tomorrow morning on my drive. Let's whatever. You set a date and a time that you're going to go back to it. It's not some, like, indefinite, I just need some space to process. That's not good enough, okay? And that's not how people communicate in a relationship. In a relationship, you are mindful of your needs, but you're also mindful of the needs of the other person. And being mindful of the needs of the other person means that you set a time that you're gonna talk if it's not right now. So the difference between a breakup, they're coming in fast and furious. The difference between a breakup and an extended fight is a breakup is an indefinite, okay? A fight has a date and time where you're gonna sit there and hash it out. That's the difference, okay? If that's unclear, text in a rebuttal. Okay, man, I need Steven to, like, hover. At what point in the relationship dating period is it appropriate to start sharing your baggage? Like, okay, so for sure not before the 5-date rule, okay? Like, for sure, you need to DTR before you start telling somebody all of your drama, okay? For sure. Like, you need to be in a relationship, not like casual coffee date number 2 and like, you know what my parents did when I was 5 years old. That's not appropriate, okay? And then I would say, okay, gauge it according to like this is such an ambiguous answer, but the relevance. So like, for example, when Rami and I DTR'd and we decided like, yes, we're gonna be in a relationship, we're gonna give this a try, whatever. At that point, I shared that, you know, like I have this tendency to just like, bam, slam the door shut and I'm out the door on relationships. And this is relevant for you to know because we're starting to get into a relationship, okay? It was relevant at the time. And then when we started getting like serious, like really serious, like, you know, past 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, but I mean, I grew up in a different time. 1 year was kind of the golden rule, okay? Like, then we started talking about like things that would affect the future, okay? So like, oh yeah, I have this baggage from the way I was raised that might affect, you know, my perceptions on like parenthood. Or like I have this baggage about like, you know, whatever that might affect like my perception on like weddings and whatever, having kids and like where you live and how much money you spend and whatever. So I would say it has to be relevant to your stage in life. You don't like DTR on date 6 and be like, you know, I have baggage about how many kids I want to have. Whoa, who's having kids right now? Nobody's having kids. Nobody's talking about that, right? So it needs to be relevant to the stage in the relationship that you're at, right? I don't remember which of the speakers said it, but like, just not too much too soon, okay? It has to be like in context. That make sense? If you need more clarity, again, send in another text. Oh my goodness, okay. How much baggage is too much baggage? I imagine that question is being asked by somebody who like wants to date somebody who appears to have a lot of issues. That's what I think. Like, I don't really know how to answer that question. I don't think that there is such a thing as too much baggage if you're able to work through it appropriately, right? If you're somebody like me who's not very good at like feelings and like insight and whatever, and it all just gets like, you know, parked in a corner and like unresolved, and then bam, beast gets unleashed out of the blue. Okay, like that's not appropriate. Okay, but I don't think that there's such a thing as too much, as long as the person is able to like talk through it and acknowledge it and like work through it, right? I think the bigger issue is not the volume of baggage, but more how you go about dealing with whatever baggage you have, whether it's a little or a lot. The bigger issue is how you deal with it. That makes sense. What would you say to people who think that a relationship will make all their problems go away? I would tell them the same thing as the people who think kids will make their problems go away. False, 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 false. And we said this in the very first slide of the very first talk in relationship goals. Relationships are not a solution because singledom is not a problem, okay? Marriage is not a solution because being single is not a problem, okay? Your problems have nothing to do with your relationship or lack of. Your problems are because of you. So fix yourself, okay? Because the relationship will not fix your problems. If you're a negative person before you got in a relationship will not make you full of sunshine and butterflies. It will not. You are more likely to bring that other person down if you're negative, okay? So please do not think that relationships are a band-aid solution. Relationships are hard work. They require an uncomfortable amount of personal insight and self-reflection. They are not a solution to whatever your situation is. Deal with your business before you bring somebody else into that, okay? What was the Valentine's Day date all about that you hated so much? Oh my gosh, okay. So like I maybe once or twice mentioned that I read the Harry Potter books, okay? Like I'm in no way like a Harry Potter like not at all. Like, okay, it was a good read for the week that I read them. Excellent, moved on. Like I'm not into like magic and whatever, okay? I like reality. And I guess he took that to mean that I was like a Harry Potter like #1 fan. I can like recite the spells or like, I can't do that. I don't know anything about that. And I read it like 100 years ago, like I don't remember. But he just ran with this like Harry Potter theme on Valentine's Day. Full grown adults, Harry Potter on Valentine's Day. Totally fine. And we went to this like show, I don't know if it was what he thought it was going to be, but it ended up being like two guys that were just doing like Harry Potter sketches. Like, just two guys. Like, it wasn't like a play or like a musical. It was just two guys, like jeans and a t-shirt, not even like in costume or anything. And they're just reenacting scenes from Harry Potter. It's like, excellent. Happy Valentine's Day. And then we left and we walk out and I'm like, okay, that was interesting. It's great. And he's like, okay, great. So where do you want to go eat? I'm like, you don't have any reservations on Valentine's Day? you McDonald's, no one else is going to take us. It's Valentine's Day. And it was just like very like off the cuff and not at all related to any of our shared interests, because Rami's also not in Harry Potter. I think he just took a comment in passing and like ran with it, but don't worry. He never made that mistake again. When is an appropriate time to get the opinion of a priest during a breakup or fight? What if both people have the same father of confession? I actually think that the same father of confession is very useful. Like, I think that like not a lot of people have the luxury of having the same father of confession, but having the same one is nice because that father of confession sees the situation on both sides. And that person is like very unlikely to side with one or the other. Like no offense to the priesthood or anything, but my father of confession obviously is very biased for me because he's my father of confession. He doesn't know the other person, right? So having the same father of confession is nice because there's not necessarily any bias and they can see the situations like from both angles. So that's really great. When is the appropriate time to get the opinion of a priest? I mean, I would argue that the opinion of a priest or your father of confession should be happening throughout the relationship. So not just at the point of a breakup, but when you get together or when you have your first fight. Like, the assumption here is that you're seeing your father of confession regularly anyway. Confession, yeah? Every 40 days? No, just kidding. But like, it shouldn't just be at the point of a breakup. So I don't think that there is a point where it's too early to seek out the advice of your father of confession. With that said, I'm like confession's #1 fan, so. What if you're in your very first relationship, Mabruk, and you are happy, but feel that there may be someone better for you out there? What should you do? Okay. Have you guys DTR'd? No? Yes? How deep into the relationship are you? Like, has it been like 6 dates? Has it been like 6 months? Is the reason that you're worried that there's somebody better for you out there because your needs are not being met? Or is there somebody who's caught your eye out there that you want to pursue and you're looking for a socially acceptable way to do that? I need more information. Buna, any thoughts? No? Thanks for that one. Can ex relationships ever become friendships? Oh, I knew this one was coming. I knew this one, the sorry, not sorry. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say, okay? When you first break up with somebody, you cannot be friends. You cannot be friends. You want me to say it again? You cannot be friends. I don't waffle and I don't hedge. If my opinion is unpopular, I'm very sorry, but I'm not actually that sorry, okay? You cannot be friends. If it's been like 6 years and you're both married and you both have kids and your kids are the same age and you're getting invited to mutual birthday parties, can you guys be friends? Maybe. Sure. Everybody's grown up, married, kids. Excellent. No problem. If you are like in a rut, okay, and oh, my life is so hard and blah, blah, and everything in my life went wrong when I broke up with this person, but let me try to be their friend, maybe not a wise decision, right? Because you're projecting onto that person. So I would say if you're erring on the side of caution, no, don't be friends with this person. You weren't friends before you were dating this person, okay? You're not friends now, okay? Like my previous, like if you're in a relationship with somebody and they're previously your ex-boyfriend, they're not your ex-friend, they're your ex-boyfriend. This is not a friendship, okay? So you're not gonna be friends now. You don't have a friendship to fall back on, okay? I would say to err on the side of caution, probably not. Are there exceptions to that rule? Sure. If, it's been a long amount of time, everybody's moved on, everybody's in a different place in their life, sure. Okay? Superficially, be their friend, sure. But would I advise it early on? Definitely not. Exes cannot be friends. It seems that many successful relationships start with the guy initially getting rejected. When would you recommend a guy to take a second shot? Okay, I have to disclose my bias here, okay? I was very mean to my husband, okay? He shot a lot more than 2 shots, and they were all turned down. And if I was his friend at the time, I would have told him, buddy, like, move along, Habibi. Like, it's not happening, okay? And if it was relationship goals and somebody texted in his exact situation, I would have said, buddy, you're not reading the signs. Like, move it along, okay? But he is, to me, like the enigma. Like, I don't know why he persisted, but he did, and it worked. And like I don't know, like, I don't like to encourage creepers, like, for sure. But he wasn't a creeper, but it worked for him. So when would you recommend a guy to take a second shot? I would say, like, first of all, gauge the situation, okay? So if you shot your first shot, okay, and it was a hard no, okay, and the girl was very clear, very transparent, like, listen, friend, I will never date you, okay? Don't try tomorrow, okay? Don't do that. She was very clear, okay? There needs to be some, like, change in the situation, okay? So either, like, she's softened in the way she talks to you, or it's been 6 months, and who knows what's happened to her in the last 6 months, or, like, you know, you've seen each other at a bunch of group events, and, like, you know, she's more receptive to conversation, or, like, you know, there needs to be something for you to go on that makes you take a second shot. Because if you're just shooting the same dart over and over at the same person, it's a little stalkerish, just a little bit, okay? So I would say you need to be able to gauge, and you need to be able to, like, identify a reason why, like, this one has a chance of working when the first one didn't, okay? If all of that fails and you still want to take a second shot, I would say just be upfront, okay? Say, listen, I know you turned me down before, and I'm just going to lay it all out there. I'm interested in you. I think that, you know, this could be something. Like, I want to give it a chance, so I'm throwing it out there. If you're not interested, I will not bother you again. And just be final about it. And if I'm being very transparent and sharing a little bit too much information, that's what got me to finally say yes to going out with my current husband. I say current husband like there's many. There's only one, but he wasn't the husband back then, okay? That's what I mean by current husband. Like, he's currently my husband, but the situation I'm talking about, he wasn't my husband at the time. Anyways, I'm sure you got that. But, like, he shot his shot, like, for an embarrassingly long number of months. And then at the final one was like that. Like, listen, like, I know that I'm bothering you a lot, whatever, but I do think that this could be something. Like, I'm just going to ask you for a final time if I can take you out for whatever. If you say no, I will stop bothering you from now on. Just like that. And then that finality gives the person pause, right? Because it's almost like now the onus is on her to shut the door completely. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to her relying on you coming back and back and back and back if she's that type. So I would say just if you're going to shoot your second shot and there's no identifiable reason why you should be shooting a second shot, then just be as transparent as you can and, like, set the stage. Like, if you're not interested, I will not bother you again, because then that also, you know, prevents the creeper vibe. Yeah? It was mentioned not to be friends after a breakup. How does one get into a relationship if they are concerned that they cannot be friends if they break up? So don't be friends with the person you broke up with, but you can certainly be friends with other people. Right? Am I reading that right? How does one get into a relationship if they are concerned that they cannot be friends if they break up? So you can't be friends with the person you broke up with. I would say that is ill-advised, okay? But you can certainly be friends with anybody else. So you're worried about the risk of getting into another relationship and losing another friend. Okay, but if you get into a relationship, they're not your friend. So what are you losing? So if you start as friends, there's a huge risk there. So let me tell you, like, our range of speakers, okay, we pick based on differences in their stories, okay? So Miriam and Rami, I hope she doesn't shoot me for saying this, but they were friends for 10 years, okay, before they started dating. And like real friends, like not like, oh, I see him at church, whatever. Like Rami showed up, I can say this because she's one of my best friends. Rami showed up on their first date with all of her favorite things because he already knew that, because they had been friends for so long, okay? So, but it took them a long time to start dating because of like the risk of a relationship not working out, right? So when they started dating, they made the decision that the potential that this relationship has outweighs the value of the friendship in their eyes. Like their friendship was great, but the potential that this relationship has is much more valuable. And they would much rather give this a shot with the potential of it working out than preserve a friendship. And I'm just gonna tell you, like, okay, maybe not a popular opinion. Again, I say sorry, but I don't really mean it because I'm not really sorry for my opinions. When you like end up getting married and blah, 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 like, and this is your like life person, the friendships that you have that are not like relevant to your marriage end up kind of fizzling out or like falling off like your primary radar. So like, for example, like if you were very, like let's say Miriam and Rami were very close like as friends, okay? If Rami married somebody else, the odds of Miriam and Rami continuing in their friendship after Rami got married are very slim, because the friendships that you surround yourself with are relevant to your stage in life. So you get married and you end up going out with other couples. You have kids, you end up going out with people that have similarly aged kids because they don't judge you for like interrupting each sentence with "don't do that." Like, so your friendships are relevant to your stage in life. So I would say that your concern about losing a friendship is probably limiting you for a reason that's long-term probably not sustainable anyway. So my advice to you would be just jump in, okay? Like the value of what you're seeking, I think, outweighs the potential of what you theoretically think you might be losing, I think. But if you disagree, fight me. Practical tips on rebuilding self-esteem. Okay, so again, for those of you who know me, you know I'm not about the feelings thing. So Abuna, if you're more feelingsy, please feel free to jump in. He's not getting up. Okay. I don't want to give you a wishy-washy answer, okay? But in my spiritual life, okay, there was a clear difference in the depth of my spiritual life before something and after something. And the before something, the something that divides my spiritual life almost in two, okay, is twofold. So the first was not just saying that God loves you, but believing that God loves you. And there's it's a very like intangible thing, and it's very difficult to explain how to do that, okay? But the difference in the depth of my spiritual life before I believe that and after I believe that is like a 180, complete 180, okay? And I believed that very late in life. I've been serving my whole life, okay? My whole life. I've been serving since I was 14 years old. I'm not one of those people that had like a sabbatical from church and whatever. I grew up in the church, born and raised. I was like your cookie cutter, like Coptic girl, like cookie cutter, okay? I can honestly tell you that I don't think that my spiritual life started until late in life when I learned to believe that I am loved. And when I learned to believe that he loves me and that everything that he does and everything that happens to me is because of his love, okay? And the other side of that coin was I learned, this is completely tangential, so please ignore everything I'm about to say, why we serve, okay? But the reason they're together for me is because it was like one like experience that brought those two things home. And like we serve not because people need service or whatever, we serve because we love him. That's it. So it doesn't matter what your service is or what you're doing or what, like, it doesn't matter what the outcome is, how many people show up, it doesn't matter, because you're not serving for the person in front of you. You're serving because this is how you show him that you love him. He loves me. I believe that he loves me. I understand that now in as much as my limited brain can. And my response is to serve wholeheartedly because that's how I show him that I love him. That's all I have to show him, is my service. And my self-esteem is rooted in the certainty that I am loved. Rooted, okay? Before that, okay, with the breakups and the whatever, all that stuff, okay, my self-esteem was rooted in something transient, right? The validation from the people around me, from the relationships, from family, from whatever, okay, whatever it is. My validation and my self-esteem was in that. And those things are fleeting. They change depending on, the direction of the wind. Who even knows, okay? But once I, believed to my core that I am loved, wholeheartedly and, with no exceptions, it changed everything. It changed my service, it changed my spiritual life, it changed my self-esteem, it changed my feelings of worth, it changed everything. And in no way do I now walk around excuse me, out of my way, not at all. But it takes a lot more to throw me because who cares what you think of me? I'm loved, right? So I would say practical tips on rebuilding your self-esteem is to start with him. Because the sooner you learn to believe that you are so loved, the sooner that this other stuff is not going to shake you anymore, no matter what it is, whether it's relationships or job or whatever. Again, this is not relationship specific. This is life, okay? The sooner that you believe to your core that you are loved without exception, the less likely all that other stuff is to shake you. No? Okay. Thanks for nothing. What do you do when you have gotten over an ex, but that person is not, and is trying to get back at you for breaking up with them, such as trying to hack your social media? How old is this person? So if you're over this person, clearly this person is not showing a level of maturity or class. If they're trying to hack what I assume would be your social media, I'm assuming that's the end to that sentence. I would say you just, first of all, change your password, friend. But you just need to cut this person off. So I'm a big fan of when you make a decision, you're all in, okay? So you make a decision, you break up with somebody, okay? Cut that person out of your life. No texting, no Facebook creeping, none of that business, okay? Until you're over that person does not exist, okay? So if you are maintaining anything, stop, okay? If you have shared passwords, you kind of did this to yourself, friend, okay? So I would say cut that person out wholly and completely, just excise the tumor. Okay. Are there people free of baggage, and if so, is that a problem in itself? There are people free of baggage, and they are the people whose spirituality is there, like my husband. Rami is who I want to be when I grow up, okay? And if the person that you're describing is Rami, oh man, pursue heavily, okay? Don't let that person get away, okay? If the person so there's two options here, okay? Either they're Rami, okay, and they are just awesome, and you don't let that person get away, or they think they're Rami, and they're not, and they just don't have insight, and they don't know how to self-reflect, like me, okay? Let that person get away. No, I'm kidding. But what you need to do is find out which of those is true, okay? If they actually have no baggage because their level of spirituality is up here, or if they think they have no baggage because they have no insight. The no insight is a bigger problem, right? Because that's a problem. So I would say my advice to you is to figure out which of those two options it is. Do you have any insights for someone whose baggage is perseverating on previous what-ifs? Ooh. Abuna, do you have any insight for somebody whose baggage is perseverating? Fixating on, he speaks French, it's not his fault. Fixating on what ifs. Stop. don't do that. Like, so I think that the reason that people fixate on what ifs is because they're not confident in their decision, okay? That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Put your hand up, fight me, okay? But that's what I think. And I think that if you're not confident in your decision, oh, hands up, yes, fight me. But I like fights.
Hi. I think what ifs are rooted in low self-esteem and confidence. So, and it could be something from childhood or something they experienced. So a lot of what ifs come from being uncertain of yourself, and that's being projected on someone else. So when someone is so fixated on a what if this person is going to hurt me or cheat or lie, because you've been hurt in the past. It could be by a partner, it could be by a family member, it could be something so minuscule that you've fixated on yourself. So I think that you have to get to the cause of the what ifs. So which is a lot to do with self-esteem and confidence, my opinion.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So if the what ifs are based on a lack of confidence, then we go back to the question of how do you rebuild your self-esteem? And your self-esteem should be rooted in him. The other thing that I wonder is if the what ifs are like similar to another question of what if there's somebody better out there, which is a question that is asked commonly. Okay, like please don't think that you're superficial or whatever if that's what you're kind of perseverating over. Okay, and like I mentioned in that other question, there's a lot of reasons that could be. Is it because your needs are not being met? Is it because there's somebody else who's caught your eye? Like, is it because that's your personality and you're not confident in your decisions? I would say if it's the confidence, go back to self-esteem and rebuild your self-esteem. If it's that you're not confident in your decisions, understand that God covers all, right? So all things work together for good for those who love God, right? So even if you screwed up and you made a bad decision, that's not to say that he's not going to take your bad decision and make it into something beautiful, okay? So I would, where you can, stop perseverating on the what ifs and start perseverating on what does he want, because that's a much more fruitful use of your time than a previous situation that you can no longer change. I don't know if that's too wishy-washy. Put your hand up if it's not. How many questions left? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to keep answering the questions, but I'm going to say if people need to kind of trickle out, zero offense taken. Please, like, do your thing, okay? Having disagreements is normal, but at what point should it become concerning? I would say that it's concerning if your disagreements are no longer productive. So we talked about fighting productively, right? When you have a fight with the person that you're in a relationship with, you should come out with more insight about each other. You should come out in a stronger place. If you're not, then something about it is not resolved. Something about it is not talked about, and these fights are no longer productive, and they're not useful for your relationship. So if you're fighting about superficial things and nothing comes out of it, that's concerning. It doesn't really matter at what point in the relationship that happens. Your ability to be able to talk through things should happen like reasonably early on. With that said, like you might be bad at it in the beginning, okay? And it takes you a while to get to the point at which you have learning that comes out of the fight, okay? And the amount of time it takes you with each subsequent fight to gain that learning should be shorter. And that's a reflection of you guys are improving at fighting productively, okay? But if nothing comes out of the fights ever, concerning. How dare you? Harry Potter is the greatest thing since the resurrection. Whew, blasphemy. I'm going to move on. Rami is a champ for remembering you at one time like Harry Potter. Can I give you his secret, boys? Okay? I mentioned this, I think, in the first one. Rami has a note, okay, on his phone. And every time I say something like that could be like a date idea or a gift idea or whatever, he jots it down quickly because Rami has a memory like a goldfish, okay? But he has insight, okay? And he knows what he needs to do, and so he writes it down quickly. I only learned about this note like 2 years into marriage, okay? But this note started from the day we started dating. So guys, it is not a failure if you need to write it down. Write it down, friends. It means a lot to the girl that you've taken the time and effort to try and write it down, okay? He is a champ, though. Did he have McDonald's ice cream at the Valentine's Day date? Somebody knows us very well. It's a little creepy. So Rami's like thing is McDonald's ice cream. Rami's a simple guy, okay? When he's stressed, he needs 2 things to de-stress. It makes my life very easy. Vanilla cone from McDonald's, basketball. That's it. Very easy. So if he's had a bad day at work, I hit the drive-thru on my way home, vanilla cone, hold it in front of the air conditioning as I'm driving, done. Excellent. Or really bad day, call up his brother, who's his inner circle, okay, and however many of their friends, and send them off to play basketball at church. Easy, okay? So somebody in this room knows us a little creepily too well. Okay. You gave the example of the guy who said a comment that you didn't like and you immediately flipped the switch. Wrongly. I wrongly flipped the switch. I often pick on certain comments, but I don't regret it. This guy was a scum anyway. Sorry, like I'm sure he's nice now, but like way back then, like it was not working. Like I should have ended it a long time ago. Wow, moving on. I often pick on certain comments or acts that the other person says or does that turn me off and makes it hard for me to get over it. Do you think it's okay to feel that way? So the question is, why are the comments or the actions of that person getting to you, okay? And is it hard for you to get over it because your needs are not being met, okay? So let's say the person says like, you know, whatever comment and it's bothering you. Is it because your love language is words of affirmation and the person is not getting that, okay? Like I think you need to dig a little bit deeper into the why. Like what about the comments and the actions are hard for you to get over? Is it hard for you to get over because there's no progress being made, right? Or is it hard for you to get over because I don't know what the comments are, right? Like I can't say that it's an insecurity thing because I'm sure he's not like, you're ugly. Like I'm sure that's not what it is. But like dig deeper into the why. Is it a reflection of needs that are not being met? Is it a reflection of validation that you're seeking that you're not getting? Is it a reflection of low self-esteem? Like I can't say it's okay or not okay because I need to understand why those comments are hard for you to get over. And more importantly, you need to understand why those comments are hard for you to get over because only then will you be able to address the why. I thought I saw a hand. No? Okay. Yeah.
So I like the fact that you brought up the love language thing. And as somebody who studies counseling, I found that learning your attachment style will give you a lot of insight into why you react to certain things or you pick up on certain things or like what you're doing because of your attachment style. So that's something like me and my counseling friends have discussed a lot, and we've actually found it's been very, very helpful in navigating this stuff, knowing about yourself. And then when you know what the other person's is, it makes it easier to figure out why you kind of fall into certain dynamics, and it also ties into the type.
What's your opinion on addressing important issues earlier on while dating as you think someone is hiding important info? When confronted, they wanted to... Okay, I mean, I don't know what the last part is, but my opinion on addressing important issues earlier on is that the point at which you decide that you want to be in a relationship with somebody, I think it is prudent to get a few things out of the way, okay? And maybe this is based like, tell me if this is not relevant, but in our experience, we got a few important things out of the way early on. So like right at the point at which we decided that we're gonna DTR, let's talk about physical boundaries. What are they gonna be? Like now until the point at which we get married, because we're gonna stick to it. And what is our perception on the L word? Because we're gonna stick to it. And what is our mutual expectation of timelines? Because we're gonna stick to it. Because the point at which, you know, we hit whatever arbitrary time we spent, if we're still not sure, it's probably a reflection of the fact that this is not working out. So we're going to hold each other accountable to that. So I think it's important to address a few things earlier on. I think it sets the relationship off on a good foot. With that said, keep in the back of your mind this idea of too much too soon, right? So don't go on coffee date number 2 before you know if you're going to be in a relationship with this person and ask them what are their views on marriage. Like, too much too soon, right? So gauge it like according to the pace of the relationship, but I do once you're in the relationship, there is value in addressing a few important things. What is DTR? Sorry, talk number 1. Obviously you weren't there. Define the relationship. So we have like a little algorithm that's half joking, but like not really that much joking, where we kind of say like 5 dates asterisk, okay, is the point at which you should decide whether you are or not going to be in a relationship with this person. So you can go on 5 casual coffee dates or whatever, but after that point, about 5 asterisk, okay, there should be a conversation about, are you in a relationship? What is this, etc. And you need to define the fact that you are in a relationship. It can't just be open-ended and it can't be left unsaid because there needs to be a level of emotional security that's provided. And it's usually the guy's job to do that. How do I introduce my partner to the Coptic Orthodox Church? Where should we start? With Abuna. What would you consider mixed signals when it comes to breakups? Are you broken up? It's not mixed. Broken up. Are you in a relationship? No, not mixed. If the person is sending mixed signals about whether they want to get back together or not, that doesn't change the fact that you're currently broken up. There should be no ambiguity about whether or not you're broken up, okay? Whether they want to get back together, I mean, I don't believe in mixed signals, okay? I believe in transparency, okay? If they want to get back together with you, the expectation is they should tell you, I want to get back together with you, okay? None of this signs and signals and business and I have to interpret and I have to be a mind reader. No, okay? And I also don't endorse that in a relationship, okay? These funny games about like, oh, it's 7:57. I cannot respond to his message until it's 8:27. Hebel, no games, okay? We're just going to be transparent. We're going to be mature human beings. If there's an intention that you have, it should be verbally articulated. If it's not articulated, nobody's going to make any assumptions about it. So no mixed signals. If he tells you or she tells you she wants to get back together, that's the point at which you can do something or think about it or make a decision. If nothing's verbalized, nothing's verbalized. Okay, last one, it seems. If the guy or girl you're getting to know doesn't meet your emotional needs even after addressing them because of their career and busy schedules, what do you do? I imagine the last part says, what do you do? Okay. On a very superficial level, okay, when you are assessing the person that you're in a relationship with about whether or not this is going to go further or not, what I find helpful to ask yourself is, if this never changes, can I live with it? Okay? And that helps you figure out if this is a deal breaker or if this is a preference. Okay? So, like, my husband, I didn't know this when we were dating, but cannot sort laundry. Okay? In the almost nine tomorrow years that we've been married, I have bought 1,000 laundry bins that say whites, colors, blacks. Inevitably, it's just salata, okay? No matter what. I don't know why, okay? When we were dating, theoretically, if I knew this, I would ask myself, if this never changes, can I live with it? Yes, okay? Alternatively, okay, if my husband, when we were dating, never planned dates, okay, and it's always on me, and there's no initiative, and I ask myself, if this never changes, can I live with it? The answer is no. I need some initiative, okay? So I think what you need to ask yourself is, if this never changes, can I live with it? On the other end of that issue, though, it sounds like you have addressed them, okay? But you can't expect somebody to show up to your relationship whole, okay? Like, they have this whole relationship thing mastered, because nobody does that. Everything is a learning curve. My husband and I are still learning things, okay? The question that you need to ask yourself is, A, if this never changes, can I live with it? And B, has there been progress? So from the first time we had this conversation to the 4th time we've had this conversation, has there been any change? Has there been any progress? Is he or she better at this, or are they exactly the same? Has he or she tried harder, or are they exactly the same? Has there been any movement? Because you may not necessarily be able to assess the person based on the presence or absence of whatever you're looking for, but what you are looking for is the rate of change, because maybe they will get there, okay? So when I first met my husband, he was very bad at planning dates, but they got progressively better over time, with a little blip with the whole Harry Potter thing. That was just that was like an outlier, okay? But they got progressively better, and he's still getting better, okay? But if Like, we were having the same conversation at date 6, date 106, date 1006, and there's been no progress whatsoever. That's the point at which you need to ask yourself, okay, it seems like there's no progress. This is never going to change. If this never changes, can I live with it? Because you cannot go into a relationship thinking that you're going to change something about somebody, because you're not. There's nothing that you can do to change that person. If the change doesn't come from that person, it's not going to happen. All right. It seems that that was the last one. Okay. Sorry, I know I'm always over time. So thank you guys. Just quick announcement about next week. So next week we're going to try something new. We've been doing relationship goals since 2017. Next week we're going to try something new. We're going to try a panel discussion. So we've asked a bunch of couples from different walks of life to come here. And they're going to be sharing their experiences, and then we're going to field like a little bit of a Q&A. So some of the hot topics that we've been asked to address, and still very open-ended, so please send me an email or come and talk to me after if you want something else included, are COVID dating. So we have a couple actually that their whole relationship started like in the pandemic, where there was nowhere to go, nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. Very interesting couple. Long distance, interracial dating, and online dating. Those are the 4 that we were asked to kind of talk about under the umbrella of special circumstances. So if anybody has anything else that they want us to include, tell me quickly so I can find a couple that matches that description. And of course, send your questions via email or come and talk to me after, whatever. Anything else? Anybody have the crew people? Any announcements from the crew organizing people? Anything? Crew organizing people? No? Yes?
Thanks so much, Sarah. So just a couple announcements. The first one is if anybody wants to volunteer for Crew 2022, just give me a shout. As well as if you have any suggestions for any topics for next year as well, you can always just email us at crew@smsv.ca. And that would be it. If everyone could stand up, and then we can go and end it off with prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Thank you, God, for bringing us here together. Please, God, forgive our sins and have mercy on us, and to fill our hearts with joy and gladness. And please, God, help us in an understanding, in being empathetic to other people, especially what they're bringing into the relationship from their experiences. And bless us all, and provide us with your grace. Amen. Here's when we say through the Saint Mary, through all the saints, here's when we say with all thanksgiving. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen.